Ziggy.
What's up, Cope?
Hey, man, we got a good one today. We got another good. Please allow me to introduce myself. And we have Meg Shelley Dapp, '05. And before I find out what you're looking forward to, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her stat sheet stuffing. First all-time in steals. Third all-time leading scorer. In the record book 33 times. Yeah. 8th all-time in assists. And you're going to love this. So she was on a heater her sophomore year. I don't think that's ever been matched.
No.
And I'm trying to look. I think it's 20 days, something like that. She went for 40, then 39, and then 33 in 3 consecutive games.
That's incredible. Yeah.
That's like Jordan at MSG. That's like Steph Curry. Holy
I'm going to ask her
smokes.
about that for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, and frankly, most importantly, her team, her senior year is the best women's basketball team ever at Dickinson College. I don't really think it's even open for debate. 24-4, 17-1 in conference. They lost in the Centennial Final and they lost in the first round of NCAAs. But we know her from coming back to college. Do you have much? Have you talked to her a whole lot?
No, I met her last year when we honored her 20th reunion team. But, that was a weird time for me. 2005, you figure when she went to the NCAA tournament in March of '05, I had my oldest son was about to turn 2, and my wife was 8 months pregnant with our second son. So I wasn't really paying attention to Dickinson basketball, and all of us have that period, right? Like, we know the players who came after us, but then there's a dead period, right? And for me, that dead period was definitely inclusive of '05, and frankly, didn't really end until we got invited back in 2011 to be honored, and streaming started. Now we can stream games, and I know all the current players, right? But there's this period where I don't know people, and she's in that era. And so I know the name. I know she was a great player. I met her briefly last year, but I'm looking forward to sitting down and talking to her. So two things on those stats you just said. First of all, 24-4 to a Gen Xer like me. That's what Dwight Gooden went, and that's what Clemens went. They both went 24-4 in the mid-'80s, if you remember. Also, 17-1 in conference goes back to what we used to always talk about. Would you rather be 18-0 or would you rather be 17-1? Right?
We should. I don't know that we should do a segment on what's a better.
No, not with her.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb. But we'll do it we'll do it at Alumni Hoops Weekend. Everyone wants to hear our take on that.
I don't think they do. It's so dumb. And I think I might have caused the whole stupid commotion back in 1990. So, obviously, you know what I like about this group? I know Meg just a little bit, maybe a little bit more than you. But when that group comes back, they're very close. Like, you can watch them. They are very close. They are still close-knit. I'm interested to talk to Meg about that. And I did a little bit of research on her. And it's funny. We had some things that she worked at a company that's run by my friend. We have a lot of things that are common, including something that I'm not going to talk to you about here. I want to surprise you, Ziggy, because I think we should be starting a segment that says, how do we make fun of Ziggy? And this might be the first segment, and she doesn't even know it, and I don't think you even know it either. So let's start. Let's interview Meg Shelley Dapp, class of '05, Hall of Famer. I mean, big-time player.
Yep.
And she brings a little something extra to this that I think is going to annoy you.
Okay.
Let's talk to Meg. Okay, Meg, we're going out of order because I want to show it's going to annoy Ziggy. So we're starting this way. Meg, where did you go to high school, and what conference is that high school part of?
I went to Cedar Cliff High School, and we are a mid-pen team.
Which explains, Ziegler, much of this stuff in the record books. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm out of here.
Right.
Are we mic dropping in the first 2 minutes? Like that I'm good.
And we do define mid-pen as the western border of Philadelphia to the eastern border of Pittsburgh, right? That's how we define it?
Just ignore him. He doesn't understand any of this stuff. Meg, when we played together in college, 5 of us played in the mid-pen in high school. So we would end up sort of talking Redland, Cedar Cliff, Middletown. And it drove Ziegler, who's from Jersey, insane.
North Jersey.
To be specific, yeah.
Southern Jersey guys on the team. I'm from North Jersey.
Yeah. So when I saw where you were from, I was like, oh, yes. Yes.
You're like, he's gonna like this or hate it, one or the other.
Okay.
I love it. So
I'll stick around.
Cedar Cliff, by the way, Ziggy, Cal Williams High School. That's where Cal
Okay.
went. Yeah. So
fun fact, Cal Williams was actually one of my track coaches when I was in high school. He was a sprint coach.
Well, but I'll say. So I played with Cal for 2 years.
That's Coach Williams to me, and that's Hall of Famer Williams to both of us.
Yeah. Spectacular, like, sprinter and basketball player. And just another one, Ziggy, another one from the beautiful Mid-Penn Conference.
Let's move on, shall we?
So let's get into this. So, Meg, we're excited to have you here, as you can tell, partly because I can use you to annoy Ziegler, which is part of the main reason we do this. So go ahead, Ziggy. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that Cope asked me in our intro whether I had ever met you before, and I said, yes, I did. I met her last year when we honored her 20th reunion team, the 05 team, but haven't had a lot of time to sit down and talk to you. So I'm excited to do this. You're a well-known name in the record book, as we just talked about, but I haven't spent a lot of time talking to you. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's going to be great. So Meg,
looking forward to it as well.
Talk to us. I now kind of let some of the cat out of the bag as to where you grew up, but tell us where you grew up when you started playing hoop.
So I'm from Central Pennsylvania, hence the Mid-Penn Conference. I was considered as close a townie to Dickinson as humanly possible. I'm from Camp Hill, and it's about 25 minutes away. I took heat from my teammates and my friends who were, like, you're a townie, and then I took heat from my high school friends that told me I was going to the 13th grade. So it was a lot of fun on both ends of that spectrum. But yeah, so I went to Cedar Cliff High School. I sort of started playing basketball in the 5th grade. And fun fact, the very first basketball camp I ever went to was Dickinson College. And Ann Hanum was running those camps, and Ro Falcone was one of my camp counselors. So it kind of came full circle for me.
And who introduced you to basketball in 5th grade? Did you have a parent that played? Did you have some friends that were starting to play? And you're like, hey, I'll try this out?
Yeah, so I was probably my mother's biggest disappointment because she was a dancer, and I was a dancer until about 8 years old. Realized it's not really where my skill set lied, and came home with a paper to play softball and said, Mom, I want to go play softball, to her horror. My dad was an athlete. He played football, baseball, and basketball. So I was the oldest of 2, but female, obviously. He was a coach of many men's teams at the high schools that he coached. So it was like, what do I do with this chick that wants to play sports? So I started playing softball and realized quite early in my athletic career that I was probably the most competitive human to have ever lived on the planet. So I picked up the sport pretty quickly. I played shortstop, was a leadoff batter. I was pretty fast. And my softball team was going to Dickinson's basketball camp. And I said, well, that sounds like something to do. So here we go. So it was around that time that I went to camp, and the West Shore School District had a rec program that didn't offer girls basketball, but allowed you to be a girl on the boys team. So myself and one other girl joined that team, and then off to middle school. My dad actually knew the phys ed and health teacher, was a former student of his, and I was mortified because, like when you're 12, 13 years old and your dad knows somebody that you have to go to school with, he volunteered me to be the team's manager because you couldn't play in the 6th grade. And I said, well, hey, like, what are we doing here? Okay, cool. But we were allowed to practice at that point in time. So I practiced with the 7th and 8th grade team as a 6th grader. And then the rest is sort of history.
So 2 questions, I guess, follow up on that. Do you think that your training in dance helped you in any way in basketball or softball? And then my other question would be, how much better did you get that manager year when you were a 6th grader playing with 8th graders? Was that a big year for your development?
Yeah, I would say I did nothing but focus on the fundamentals because I couldn't play. So, I would practice, they would do dribble drills, they would do shooting drills, they would do passing drills, and that was really where I had to stop because when it came to, 5v5, I was out because they had to get the girls in that were going to be playing.
Mm.
Um and yeah, as far as the dance is concerned, I was probably the least graceful dancer, but I do contribute my early dance training to what I think prevented a lot of injury for me as an athlete. I was really fortunate my entire career to only walk away with a high ankle sprain once, and a couple broken fingers that you could play through. So, I think that for sure had an impact on, my ability to sort of utilize my body in a way to control it, to protect myself.
What what was your favorite sport at that age? Like, was it like when you get to ninth grade or eighth grade? Is it basketball? Is it softball? Did you have a preference, or you just like all of them?
I loved basketball by high school. I wanted to play softball. Softball was probably my second love, but our team in high school was pretty horrific, and I was fast. So it was a decision to sort of take away the sport that I had a lot of fun with, but wasn't going to be super successful, and join the track team. And I was a sprinter and jumper, for my high school track team, and so that's what I did. I can tell you that I hated track with an undying passion, and
Not because of your coach.
no, no, my coaches were actually great. My team was actually phenomenal. We had a really successful career, but it wasn't my thing. I love team sports. I love the camaraderie. And so kind of running for my life by myself was not awesome. Although I did say my sort of claim to fame is that I ran, the 400 against a girl that went to CD East that became a future Olympian. And so I have a photo of me actually in the frame with her running. So I was fast enough to make the shot, but slow enough to not be anywhere near where I needed to do to try to beat her.
Right, right, right. Oh, that's cool.
You're making me laugh a lot, by the way. I love everything about this. This is so great. And this off topic real fast. There was a famous football coach at Cedar Cliff for a long time, and I was thinking he coached track too, but I think he probably was it Bob Craig? Was
Bob
he a wrestling
Craig.
coach? Yeah,
He was
Did he
wrestling.
do track?
Football. He was actually one of our lane timers, and God bless him. So my dad went to Cedar Cliff, was a football player for Coach Craig, so he knew, when I got there, who I was. And he was nearing the end of his career, and unfortunately had some early onset dementia and things. But he told me, my dad was Shell because his last name is Shelley. He was like, Shell, which was me, and he goes, I'll retire when you become the first female football player for me. And I think there were some people that were really hoping I would do that to get to the retirement. Then others were like, what the heck is going on? But Coach Craig, he was a timer for us. And my favorite was, somewhere in the beginning of the season, he'd say, hey, Shell, what do you need to do to qualify for districts for the 400? And I would give him, 62 flat, coach. And I'd run, and what I get, 62 flat. So I would qualify for districts. Now, obviously elsewhere I got those times, but he was a big fan.
Ziggy. He was a really, really, really well known sort of football, just a coach. You have that guy that coaches multiple sports, that he was in it forever and sort of well known in the area for being
Incredible athlete too. He was a gymnast, wrestler, football player. It was crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking he might have been gone by the time you were there. So let's get back to it. Or again, we could bury. This is why Ziggy hates when I talk mid-pen, because we can sit here and talk mid-pen all day.
All day, I know.
It's not healthy. So all right. So I'm trying to remember where I was on that when I diverted with Coach Craig.
High school career. Let's talk about your basketball high school career. You come in as a freshman, you play right away. Tell us your journey across those 4 years, your personal journey as a player, but also your team. How'd your team do?
So it was an interesting evolution. A lot of the girls that I played with in high school went to the local private Catholic school, so they played in the CYO program. St. Teresa's.
Trinity, and they all end up at Trinity, Ziggy. They're all criminals. I mean, Jim Sheik, or wherever you are, Tommy Sheik, or wherever you are. Please continue.
I have, yes, I have a lovely love-hate relationship with Trinity as well. So I was sort of an unknown quantity. The girls had been playing together for a couple years. So I came in as a freshman, and it was like, okay, who are you? So I started JV and swung varsity, and got a few minutes here and there, nothing big. I did get one start, actually. I think it was against Carlisle, weirdly, which we had some injuries, and they needed to have somebody step in. And then my sophomore year, we actually had two of our senior guards decide not to come out that year. Very talented guards. And for my, luck, they left and they needed a hole filled. And I was the starting point guard actually that year. And our team was pretty good, but we were playing at that time Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division. So Harrisburg, CV, Carlisle, Central Dauphin, schools that, although we are a 6A school now, we were 4A then, much smaller in comparison to the schools that we were playing, and had some tremendous athletes that went on to be Division I basketball players. So we sort of held our own. And then our junior year was our best year. We knocked off some of those perennial powerhouses in the regular season, got to playoffs, went into districts, won our first game, lost our second game to Central Dauphin. And then we did, actually may have gotten that wrong, maybe in my senior year. It's all kind of running together. But then we also we did very well our senior year, and went to playoffs as well. So we were not very good when we started. There were two seniors when I was a freshman, and they were workhorses, and taught us a lot about working together, but we didn't really have the bullpen of a strong lineup, and a deep lineup at that point in time.
Did you? So I'm just trying to think. That's a very tough conference for all sports, but particularly women's basketball.
It was the best.
Yeah, I mean it's really really good. So did you? You obviously had a good experience though. You didn't? Did you? You played track. You ran track.
Mm-hmm.
You play hoop.
Mm-hmm.
And oh well, like when did you show up on college radars?
So I was a little bit of an anomaly. I tended to have bigger visions than what my body was built for. So I had aspirations for low D1. And, part of my decision making was academics. I really loved school. I wanted to be a poli-sci major. And I started doing college visits myself. The recruiting process really wasn't active in high school for me. And so we would show up on college campuses over the summer and walk in and talk to the coaches. It was in one of those meetings where when I walked in with my 5'6" frame, the coach looked back at me and said, "You do know that we're trying to contend for a national championship." And I'd see their recruiting board, and actually one of the girls that I played against in Mid-Penn at Central Dauphin, Leandra Fuller, she is 6'3", was the top of most of those. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's just not going to work for me. So, I applied to 12 schools, and they ranged from low D1 to D2 to D3. But I think that there were some college coaches that were not really sure what my intentions were. I know the Messiah coach, I had gone to their camp for several years, had no idea that I was looking anywhere in the vicinity. So it was all sort of by accident. My first choice, and this is going to hurt a lot of people, was to go to Gettysburg. That was where I wanted to go.
It could have been worse, but okay. So when you say low D1, are you talking Patriot League,
Yeah.
Ivy League? What other leagues are you looking at when you say
Patriot and Ivy? I mean, I knew that it wasn't going to obviously be the Tennessees of the world, but
Sure.
I thought that I could go and compete at some point in time in my 4 years. And look, I think as I was getting toward the end of my high school career, I also knew myself. I wanted to play. I didn't want to go in some place and be somebody's practice dummy for 2 years and then earn my stripes. I knew I wouldn't make it, because the competition is really what drove me. So when there started to be some real strong D3 interest, I really sort of adjusted my expectations, and that's sort of how I got in that direction.
Before we jump into that, Ziggy, I was just going to say, you brought up an interesting subject we have not really talked about before, but you talked about Tennessee, right? Pat Summitt.
Mm.
Did you have a favorite team? Like,
Uh,
were you a UConn fan, a Tennessee fan?
I was a Tennessee fan. I was a Pat Summitt. Please scream at me. Tell me what I need to be doing to get better. That mutual respect. I like the discipline. I think everybody at that point was a Geno UConn fan, and it was obviously they were wonderful, but it was like I was just kind of like slightly off center with Tennessee. And going south wasn't going to hurt either.
Who was the player on Tennessee during your high school era that was prominent? And did they win a national championship during your high school years?
God, I don't know.
Okay, that's
You're
fine.
asking me to pull from a drawer that is like locked.
I get it. Yeah, you can't remember. I understand. I was just curious. Yeah. Okay. So okay, you said just told us you want to go to Gettysburg. They clearly were recruiting you, right? Like, why didn't you go to Gettysburg?
So I went to team camp every year at Gettysburg, and loved the campus. I was a smaller campus, like historic campus type of girl. But they ultimately ended up recruiting Emily Falk, who was a guard from Boiling Springs, so another mid-Penn school closer to Gettysburg. And her dad was the coach of the high school, and I believe was going to be coaching at the college. So that was the shooting guard recruit for that year, so it was not going to be me, and so I had to take a pivot.
And did she have a good career at Gettysburg?
Yeah, she did.
Okay, interesting.
I'm still taking Meg. I don't
Yeah,
care.
me too.
I don't care how. I don't know if is she in a relation to Spider Falk, Rich Falk, the guy who coached at Dickinson with Coach Evans for a long time. He's from that area. He's from Boiling
I don't know.
Yeah, I was just curious. Go ahead, Ziggy.
I was trying to think of a question.
No.
Okay. So tell us about your Dickinson journey in terms of applying. Did you apply early? Did you apply normal? And when did you make your decision? So Dina Henry was the coach. Is that right?
She was not.
Who wasn't?
Devonna Williams was the coach.
Yeah, that's right. You went through a coaching change. Yes. Okay.
We did.
Right. Yep.
We did. So I was an accidental recruit. Devonna's assistant coach at the time, Coach Campbell, came to see the other Megan on my high school team. She was the point guard, and she did not want to play basketball in college. So she did a sort of about face when he would come and say, "Hey, I know you're here for this Megan, but go talk to that Megan. She wants to play." And I was still kind of all over the place about what I wanted to do. Dickinson seemed really close to home, even though Gettysburg wasn't much further. But so I went to do a visit, and actually one of your other interviewees, Kim Salemba, was the senior that I talked to when I got there. And Devonna basically looked at me and said that they're in a rebuilding year. They were only going to have 3 seniors the next year, and there was a starting spot for me if I wanted to come. So I applied to Dickinson 24 hours prior to the regular decision application deadline, and found out with all of the regular humans in April where I was going to school.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Yeah.
We call that you just applied early. 24 hours early.
Right.
Yeah, I got in like right in the end of the deadline there.
So we love these stories. Like you could tell Ziggy and I love asking these stories of people. So before you jumped to going to college, did you have any idea what you want to do? Did you go to college? Because it sounds like you're talking sports. I want to play. I want to go to a place I'm going to play. Were you thinking professionally at that point about, like, did you have a sense?
Yeah, actually. So I had to make some decisions about where I wanted to go to school. My dad was a teacher, and I really wanted to be a high school social studies teacher and a coach for a long time. And my parents were fortunate enough to say that they would pay for a 4-year college for me anywhere I wanted to go. But if I wanted to go to school for education, going to a state school for much cheaper that specializes in education was a decision I had to make. So I ultimately decided if it wasn't going to be education, it was going to be poli-sci. And so all of the schools that I applied to had strong poli-sci programs. And so the goal was to be an attorney. I have to say I failed at that. I did not pursue the LSATs nor a legal career, but that was the intended journey when I walked into Dickinson.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
So
So I want to
you,
follow up.
you were thinking that. Yeah, you're thinking the law, but you're okay. It makes
I
sense.
wanted to go
So
somewhere with a really high academic program. I mean, that was really important to me. And that was sort of the reason I was looking at the schools that I was looking at.
So let me follow up on your comment about Gettysburg's campus. Because I like to ask everybody, like, kind of, what drew you to Dickinson? There's a lot of different factors, but how do you feel about the campus? Because I think Dickinson is gorgeous relative to any other school. And I also ask about the Klein, because I've always loved the Klein, and some people don't like it. But my favorite place to play was Gettysburg's gym, right? I thought that was a cool gym. So what were your feelings as you told us why you didn't go to Gettysburg, but how are you feeling about Dickinson's campus versus Gettysburg, and how do you feel about the Klein versus Gettysburg's gym, which I always loved?
This is such a loaded question. So I think the campus of Dickinson College is second to none as far as beauty. The limestone walls, now the red Adirondack chairs, they were sort of just coming into fruition when I was in school. I loved. The smell of Brooks Gymnasium at Gettysburg, their old gym where they would practice, was like what I envisioned basketball to be. The fact that they had a wooden floor was definitely a plus in the category. I have to say, the Klein, as much as I love the atmosphere of the Klein, and there's definitely, when I played, they didn't have a partition, so we loved what we called the abyss, which was the one side of the gym. The opponent team, opposing team, no matter how bad we were, struggled on that end of the floor because they didn't understand the depth perception. So I loved it. But between the rubber floor and the chlorine from the pool, like Klein Lung, it was a rough rough go.
Klein Lung. I never heard that before.
Never heard that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, every time we come back for alumni weekend, it takes me a good quarter to be able to like breathe and get used to the chlorine on my throat. So yeah, I love the Klein, but there's things about the Klein that just needed to go.
That's completely fair.
So
okay.
True.
All right, Cope, as we always say, this podcast is being brought to everybody by the Friends of Red Devil Basketball. And we want to be sure to remind people about the upcoming Alumni Hoops Weekend. We happen to be filming this on January 21st, which is exactly 1 month before Alumni Hoops Weekend, which is Saturday, February 21st. So we encourage everyone to come back. That's always our call to action. Just come back, grab a couple teammates. We've had 80 or so people back the last 2 or 3 years, and we want to get over 100. So let's do it this year. Come back to Alumni Hoops Weekend.
Just like Noah's Ark, come back in twos. I mean, come back in ones if you want. But grab a teammate and just say, hey, let's just go up there, watch a couple of games, and see what this is all about. And we'd love to have you. I promise, for your money back, you will have fun. Now, there's no fun money put in. That doesn't matter. We're guaranteeing that you will have fun. So, Ziggy, those dates again are when?
So many of us will start gathering on Friday, February 20th. Those of us who are coming from far away, like California, we'll be there Friday night, the 20th. But most of the FORDB formal festivities are on Saturday, the 21st.
Now, look for an email. It'll have the link to sign up. We'll try to make it as easy as possible. But if you're not sure, just email Ziggy or me, and we'll make sure you get it, make it easy for you. So,
and the college does follow who's signing up, and they'll send Cope and I an email like, "Oh, we're up to 62. Oh, we're up to," and they like to see that. So do register if you can.
Yep, we will help. Let's get back to Meg Shelley Dapp and our conversation with her. Yeah. Do you look at the floor they have now and go, oh, I wish the wood floor they have? I do.
Look, I mean, I played, so my final 2 years, we did have the floor. So we actually did have the Hartford Civic Center UConn floor my
right.
junior year. They painted over the UConn, but Hartford Civic Center lived. And then my senior year, we actually had it repainted for Dickinson. So I did get half of my career on the wooden floor.
As a Tennessee fan, were you just infuriated by that UConn thing?
Actually, it was, do you know how many unbelievable athletes have run on these hardwoods? Like, it was pretty special.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Okay, so you love the campus, you get recruited. There's a lot of playing time you're going to get, clearly, right out of the bat. So you get on campus. Where did you live on campus?
I lived in Adams Hall.
There
Oh,
we
that's where I
go.
live too. Nice.
Yeah,
What floor?
So I did a 2-year stint in Adams. I did floor number 3 and then the top floor number 4. 57 stairs to get to my room my sophomore year.
Nice.
Your memory is good on some things. I like that.
Well, I counted them the last time I was there to make sure my memory served me correct, but every inch of those steps, especially after 2-a-day practices, were miserable.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I was Adams 3 my freshman year. So nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, okay, so you get on campus and you go down to play at the Klein. Who tells you to come down to play? Or, like, I'm assuming they play pickup or you go play with whoever?
Pickup, and I'm not even sure how we got the information, but I remember showing up, and at the time we had 12 girls in our recruiting class. And we all showed up, and it was like the absolute immediate size each other up of like who's good, who's bad, who's gonna make it, who's gonna quit. And I will say, my initial impression of most of the women were, I am not going to be able to do this. Like they were already like in little clumps of humans because they'd either lived in the same dorm or they were from the same hometown area. And actually my best friend to this day is one of my teammates. The first time I met her, I couldn't stand her. So it was it was a little bit of a, oh, okay, this is going to be different than what I had expected, but we'll see how it goes. So we did pick up, and then I think by the time we got to good old October 15th, I think we lost 3, and then another 3 didn't make it through sort of preseason. And so we ended up starting with 5 freshmen on the team by the time the season got to start.
Yep. And how'd that season go? You'd been warned it would be a rebuilding year, but that you had a starting spot saved for you. So tell us a little about your freshman year.
So we actually kicked off our freshman year in Boston. Devana went to Emmanuel College, and they were having a tip-off tournament. So we drove up there in a very small bus to Boston, and it really wasn't until we got there that we knew for sure that 3 of us freshmen were going to start with 2 seniors. So it was a little bit of a coming out of, okay, this is real and this is now happening. Like we've gotten here, and we held our own. And I actually think we went 1-1 at the tournament, but didn't get blown out kind of where we had expected. And that first season there were bumps, but there was promise that we were going to be okay. But then my sophomore year, we graduated our 3 seniors that were, kind of the backbone of the program. And then we did not, I don't know if we had any juniors that year that were rising seniors. So we had 2 sophomores that became juniors. And then we did have some women join the team that had limited basketball experience to fill a roster. So we did not fill 2 squads for 10 people. So practice was a little bit difficult, and not having, experienced players. They were wonderful athletes and wonderful humans, but, not the talent that you would expect in a college program. So we were pretty terrible our sophomore year. And then we had our coaching change. And so in comes Dina and Jeremiah Henry.
That's hard to believe. Yeah, that's hard to believe that you didn't have 2 5s. You didn't have 10. That makes it very difficult. I did not know that.
Our coaches would practice with us. Some of the men would come in and fill in. Other people who didn't play basketball on a team but played basketball would come in and fill in our practices. But yeah, it was a rough season all the way around. And so, we had, and it was the year, our end of our sophomore year, and then junior year, we had some girls that then decided to go abroad because we're not really sure how this is going to go.
Right.
what are we hanging around for? And so the coaching change happened over the summer. I will say the college, to their credit, involved the returning players in the hiring process. We did interview all of the coaches that made it to the final round and got our input considered. So we got Dina and Jeremiah, and I will say it was a little painful to have two coaches come in that went to Franklin and Marshall. I didn't want to do that, but I had actually met Dina. I went and attended her dad's basketball camps as a player when I was in high school, so I was familiar with sort of her and her pedigree, and she was really excited. And, at that point in time, we had nothing to lose and everything to gain by sort of a refresh. And I will say, Devana, to her credit, did recruit some really great women that were going to be coming in. And so we went 500 my junior year. And then we dialed in, and we want to go out doing something in this program. Everyone believes we're terrible. Nobody gives us any credit. And we had the most unbelievable season that I could have ever imagined my senior year. And it just, kind of the rest is history. And it was awesome.
24-4, if I remember correctly, right? 17-1 in conference. You're the all-time winningest women's basketball team, and we honored you last year. That's amazing. But I want to go back to your sophomore year because
Because we're not done with that sophomore year. Yeah, we're not done.
Okay.
I just have a general question. I want to ask you whether sophomore year was your best statistical season. And the reason I ask this is because in the stats, I noticed that you had an incredible 17-day run. The Saturday before Thanksgiving, you scored 40.
Yep.
At Ursinus, maybe. And that's the all-time highest game ever.
Yep.
And the Saturday after Thanksgiving, you scored 39. That's the second all-time highest game. And then the Thursday after that, you scored 33. So you went 40, 39, 33. And in one of those games, you took the most shots ever. So I want to hear from you. Were you just carrying the team your sophomore year? Like, that was your best statistical year because you had to carry the team. In your senior year, obviously, you're the captain. It's the greatest team in history. But what happened sophomore year? And tell me how you felt during that 17-day run.
Well, I didn't know it was a 17-day run, so that's interesting. I actually, the night before the Ursinus game, I hosted my one and only recruit that I ever hosted, because I always tried to get out of like the overnight and like babysitting. Like, I would go to the dinners, I'd do the things, but I was like, I don't want them in my room. But Piper Edis, who actually ended up coming and being a teammate of mine, she was super shy and really excited. She was coming from Connecticut, and she got assigned to me, and we had ourselves just a blast. And then we went to go to bed, and I had this game the next day that she was going to come to see, and she wouldn't stop talking. And she wouldn't stop talking because she like found her groove and was really excited. And finally, I want to say it was at like 2:00 in the morning. I looked at her and I said, Piper, I got to play tomorrow. Like, you got to shut up. Like, you got to go to bed. And she and I still joke to this day about it. But I had this 40-point game, and it's all well and good, and it's a statistical achievement. It's cool, but I have to say that season, although it may have been my personal best, wasn't fun.
Right.
You contended with these great teams, but I think the thing that I really learned between that season and my senior season is that the whole is better than the sum of the parts. And while I was having these great opportunities, we were losing. I don't like to lose. So, it wasn't fulfilling in any way, shape, or form, because the end result was we came up short. And so, as great as it can be, it wasn't what my goal was. And so, but I will say the reputation that I got slapped with after that season was something that Dina came in and had a pretty interesting conversation with me about how that wasn't going to be my role. And I looked at her and I said, I never wanted it to be. So, it was, I think she thought that it was like she just fires at will because she can do whatever she wants. That was our offense, was to get me the ball and I was to shoot. And if I didn't, it was a
Yeah.
problem. And look, when you didn't have basketball players on the team, there wasn't a
Right.
ton of options at the time. But it was not the game that I wanted to play. I wanted to play the team game. So I was ready, willing, and able for many options, and we obviously recruited them and got them. And
Yeah.
it came to fruition.
Oh, thank you. I love the stories behind the numbers. I thought there was something there, and that was a nugget. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, like, you can tell what kind of player you are. You like winning. Like, winning is fun.
So
Like,
fun.
scoring is cool. Winning is
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I love it. I love it. And you guys won. So
We did.
your senior year, where you're 24-4, you go 17-1 in a conference. Is that your favorite experience? Like, is that the one you look back on and go, that was the absolute best?
It
And
was, and
pinpoint it. Yeah, tell me about it.
it's not even for necessarily the streaks and the records. It was, we had this chemistry, and the women of that team, we are super close to this day. They are the best human beings I have ever come into contact with, and everybody on that team knew their role, accepted their role, and embraced their role. If you didn't play, you practiced to beat the crap out of everybody else to make sure that they had competition in practice that was going to equate to the games. You had girls, Piper, who I mentioned, was going to be our starting forward, tore her ACL in our preseason scrimmage at Susquehanna. So we thought our season was over before it even started, because one of our starters, who was a hell of a rebounder, very physical, was out for the season. We had another one of our starters the year before was abroad, and we were sort of 5'6" across the board, and then we had Ali Tatum at 6'1". But we weren't big, we weren't beefy, strong. We had some speed, but it really was the combination and the shared desire to win. I mean, we all hated losing so much that it was, when the new scheme of offense, new defenses came in, we're like, just tell us how we're going to win. And everybody bought into the system. And that's how we got where we got to, not because we had these amazingly talented, unbelievable basketball players. We had athletes who were fierce competitors, and it just sort of gelled.
It's funny, Ziggy. You can, when they come back to Alumni Hoops Weekend, that group, her team,
Yeah.
when you see them, they're very close.
You can
and
tell.
That's sort of a reflection of your chemistry that you just described. I'm not surprised to hear that, but it's cool to hear it.
Tell us, when we honored you last year, 23 Union of that 2005 team, how many of you came back?
Goof,
Because it seemed like a big group to me.
yeah, and I have to look at the photo, but I think we had almost everybody. I think we were missing maybe two.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, we roll pretty deep. I mean, weddings, baby showers, life events. And it's funny, we all have the same exact memories. I mean, we went undefeated 13-0 and lost to Leb Valley, and every single time we say it, it's always goddamn Leb Val. We forgot to play how to play basketball that day. I mean, it was crazy, but it happened at such a poignant part of the season that it was like, okay, that reminded us what we don't want to do, and that's lose and beat ourselves. And so even though, we were on a run to sort of be undefeated, it kind of came at a pivotal moment. And yeah, we talk about it. I mean, we refer to it as a magical season. And that it sort of stays that way for all of us.
So that's out of conference, right? They're not in the Centennial. So did you get a second shot at them that year?
We did not. They were out of conference. So it was an away game. It was random. And I think we collectively had double-digit travel calls. And of course, we're arguing during the game that none of these are travels. And Dina shows us the film the next day, and we were taking like Euro steps times 3. Like it was like we forgot how to play the game. I don't know what happened, but we were awful. And then we pulled ourselves together.
Yeah, nice.
I love it. I think it's safe to say that Meg identifies as a basketball player at college. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
I'm picking up on
you need
that.
to ask for that question.
Yeah.
So you have this
Well, and I have to
magical.
say, my sweatshirt's vintage. So these were our warm ups.
Oh,
From my, I
Nice.
guess it was my junior year, and I think my teammates are either going to be thoroughly embarrassed or wildly proud that I'm wearing it. We called them the Gray Blob, and we decided that wearing like extra large sweats was like the way to go. And yeah, so this was me bringing out some of the vintage attire.
nice.
I like that.
So you have this magical senior year, 100% of your focus through March, probably because you made the NCAA tournament as well, right? Is basketball. Were you prepared for the next step? Did you know what you wanted to do after you graduated in March of 2005? You're a poli-sci major. What are you thinking when April 1st rolls around and you're coming off that high? What are you doing?
Well, I was thinking, as much as I would have loved to have played Messiah, who was where we were going to play had we won our game, spring break is now an option. So that was sort of on my immediate mind. The next was I'm never setting foot in a weight room ever again for at least the foreseeable future. And then it was I'm tired. You know, you guys know playing a winter sport, 2 semesters, no breaks, fall, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then you sort of start preseason workouts right when you're done. My body was tired. I was beat up. And, you know, I was at the point where I was going to have to sit for the LSATs and decided, you know what, I'm going to finish out the rest of the semester. I knew that I was going to be going home, you know, and getting a job because I was going to have to pay for law school myself anyway. So it was, I'm going to make sure I really want to do this, you know, before I take out these monumental loans. So nope, I had no plan. I graduated with honors as a political science major and went home and worked for a temp agency when I got there. So it was not quite the journey and of
Yeah.
I have a new puppy and she is not happy with me right now. So
And what are you doing now and how'd you get there?
so I work for a lobbying firm in Harrisburg, and I actually work in our communications department. I do a little bit of direct lobbying. I do a lot of economic state grant work. But I'd started my first job, real jobby job, was with the American Heart Association, and my first boss actually hired me because I went to Dickinson and because I was an athlete. So I was wildly underqualified, but he said, I know what athletes can bring to the table from an intangible. You understand shared goals, you understand time management, you understand work ethic, and you came from a prestigious institution. So we're going to take a chance and hope that this experiment works.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect segue to my standard question to everybody. So, what experience did you have, Meg, playing basketball at Dickinson, either on the floor, in the locker room, or with your teammates, that best prepared you for something you faced in your professional career?
So I would have to say that being a captain, I was actually a captain for 3 years, so sophomore, junior, and senior year. Through a coaching change, through new recruiting classes, was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do. Being the intermediary between the coaching staff and your friends is not an easy role. You know, my two best friends that are still my best friends to this day, who were seniors with me, we were the only three that made it the whole way through. I was a starter and they weren't. And so that was hard. It was hard as for us three seniors to talk to a big freshman class about good decisions and, you know, not having egos and, you know, having this chemistry and the rules that we were asked to follow. We didn't always agree with them, but it was our job to be that extension. So I think having some difficult conversations with people that you love is a really good lesson in the professional workspace because you're going to have difficult conversations. And I think I learned at a younger age how to have them and how to have compassion, but able to deliver a message that I think, you know, not everybody gets that skill.
Yeah, wow, 3 year.
That's a really, those are really good examples. I never thought about the way you have to be when you're a captain. I was a captain for 1 year, how you have to sort of be go between your coaches and your friends. Some of your, if not your best friends, some of your best friends. And as you were saying that, I remember thinking back on, oh yeah, she's right. I kind of had forgotten about that tension, the potential tension. Yeah.
And as a sophomore captain, I mean, I had juniors and seniors on the team, and so they had to listen to somebody that was, 2 years younger than them. I mean, it's not an easy role to play, but
yeah.
I have to ask, of 3 years, I mean, I played with a couple 2-year captains. I was a 1-year captain like Cope. How did your captaincy change across those 3 years? Because the answer to my question that I ask everybody involves my role as a captain. In retrospect, I wish I had done things differently, right? So I learned from not doing. But how did you evolve from a sophomore captain, which is young, to a senior captain? Are there any key things that you learned along the way that you did differently as a captain, and then your team's 24-4?
yeah, I mean, and look, I think we had the advantage because the three captains, we were all captains since our sophomore year. Again, we were a young team, had incredible senior captains when we were freshmen. They were inclusive, they were hard workers, they, they weren't catty. Look, we were women, like women are catty. Like we didn't have any of that drama. And I think they taught us to like check the toot at the door and all your feelings and all the things and just go get the job done. I think as sophomores, we were still figuring out how to survive on a team that we had no idea what its future was. And so all it was don't let anybody else defect and don't let anybody else go. Otherwise, we're not going to have this in existence. So it was total survival mode. I think junior year, because we were transitioning and everything was new, it was learn and just follow directions. And then by the time we were seniors, it was we have a chance to leave a mark on this program and do it the right way. And I think we tried to emulate what we had as seniors. We spent a lot of time with the freshmen. And, we enjoyed being, going to dinner or going to the movies or whatever it was that we were going to do. We wanted that inclusive environment that we had because it just helped the transition, from us to the college program. And so I think that was really how we led, and we led by example. We followed the rules that we expected. We worked hard. We tried to beat them in every sprint, every drill, so that it was like, this is what the standard is and this is what our expectations are. And I would hope that they would say that they saw that. They probably give us some shit too, but
Well, I'm going to compliment you because I didn't know that story about your sophomore year about how the program, I'm not going to say it was an existential crisis, but when you can't field 10 players and kids next year are going to go abroad their junior year, right? Like that's, you guys stabilized and then turned that program around through a coaching change I didn't know that. Like that's actually, I'm really impressed by that. I didn't know that, Meg. Like Ziggy, did you know that? I had no idea.
No, I didn't know those details. No, I just knew that you had a really good team in 05, right? Yeah. But that's phenomenal. So here's what I would say to close. I would say you did leave a mark on the program, Meg, and we're glad that you're still making a mark on the program, and you're a big part of FRDB. And thank you for doing this, and we hope you keep coming back every February.
You can't get rid of us. Sorry. It's just we're the gift that keeps on giving, guys.
We love it. We're so glad you guys are back. We love it. And now I'll throw Ziggy off and we'll just sit and talk mid-pen for the next, study, say 5 hours. Yeah. Meg, thank you so much. It's been so great.
Thanks,
we didn't know your story. Now we do. It's awesome.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks. So
yep. All right.
Hang for a second. So Ziggy, Meg Shelley Dapp I didn't know she was going to be this great. She was great.
Another great podcast. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
So other than, of course, me loving the fact that she's from the Mid-Penn and you just having the tremendous respect that you do for that conference, what were some of your things that jump out at you about that conversation?
Well, let me just say first that you started this podcast by saying we should have a new segment called Let's Make Fun of Ziggy. I'm happy to do that, but only if we have a segment that's also Let's Make Fun of Cope. right? So let's go. Here we go.
Turnabout is fair play, I'm told. Yes.
Yeah. So two things that I'm going to take away from our great conversation with Meg Shelley Dapp. One is how she still talks about that senior year team and how close they are, right? She mentioned, hey, we go to each other's weddings, we go to each other's baby showers, and it reminded me of our team, your senior year team, right? We weren't that close the first 15 years or so outside of Dickinson, but we also didn't have the modern world, right? It's harder to stay in touch, right? I wasn't picking up the phone and calling you, right? But we've been that close since 2011 when we came back. So that really resonated with me. That's what this experience is all about. Now, they went 24-4, 17-1, and they're close. But you can go 5-16 and be close, right? That's what you take away from the experience. So that resonated with me.
Yeah.
And then, how about the heater? I mean, I asked her about that heater. I might have gotten the days wrong, 12 days, 20 days. Who cares? But she goes 40, 39, and 33. But here's what I liked about it. She smiled. She remembers it, but she didn't really want to talk about it, right? That wasn't her favorite year. That was the tough year, right? Where she had to score. She liked the year where she didn't have to score as much. Her senior year when they went 24-4. So that, I picked up on that, right? She's not going out and talking about 40, 39, 33 every day.
No.
Maybe we could go and talk about it a little bit at Alumni Hoops Weekend. But she wants to talk about her senior year. And that's what it's about. It's about winning. Winning and team camaraderie. Those are the things I take away from talking to Meg Shelley Dapp.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Like that heater was unprecedented. But again, if you watch, I think this shows up if you're listening. You could see her tone change when she was talking about the team.
Yes.
And you and I both admire that tremendously and have a lot of respect for. I did smile at her story about giving Piper a hard time and then ending up really close. I managed to skate out of most of those too. By the way, I knew exactly what she was talking about. And I look back, you mentioned it about being a captain. I look back and go, why was I like that? Why would I not want to have recruits with me? I just, So I understood that. I like that. I was a little shocked at the unhealthy level of the program her sophomore year that they couldn't field 10 players.
Yeah.
I was unaware of that, and I actually was really surprised to hear that. I didn't realize that the program was struggling that way.
Right.
Did you know that? Did you?
No, I had no
any
idea.
sense of that?
No.
Did you? Yeah. And again, we weren't checked out. We just couldn't be dialed into the programs then like we are now. I've been able to.
Yep.
Part of it, modern technology, and frankly, I didn't know she'd been a 3-time captain. And I was like, wow, I can't imagine being a sophomore captain and having upperclassmen that you're not in charge of, but you are to an extent responsible for. And that was just really, really, I didn't know that. And I was sitting there thinking, how would I have handled that? Poorly, most likely,
Yeah.
So, it was a great conversation. She's great. She's a great talker, right? She is fun to talk to. And now I really can't wait to talk to her in February. I think that's going to be great.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that captain story really resonated with me because, as you know, my answer to my question is about my experience as a captain, not my experience as captain, but looking back on what I could have done differently. And to have the opportunity to grow as a captain, to have 3 years. And I asked her that question. I said, how did you grow between sophomore year and senior year? She certainly did, right? But most of us are captains for 4 months, right? And I wish I had done more. And she had the chance to do more. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a really interesting answer, but it was a really interesting question that you had. So I thought that was great. Look, I hope people realize how much we enjoy doing this. And we will be adding segments making fun of Ziggy and potentially making fun of me, I suppose, if that's possible. But I do think we should let people know that we want to talk to them. We're not we have plenty of people lined up. We've already done a bunch. But we do want to talk to people. And we want to talk to anybody that's willing to tell us their story. We'd love to hear it,
If you laced up the sneakers for Dickinson for 1 year or 4 years, good teams or bad teams, captain or no captain, Hall of Fame or not Hall of Fame, doesn't matter. We want to talk to you. There are hundreds of us, certainly lots of dozens of us, right? So there's a lot of conversations we could have, and I'm looking forward to having all of them.
Yeah, same. So, Ziggy, as always, this has been great. I can't wait till we get to introduce or have somebody introduce themselves to us who laced them up, at some point. So thanks, man. It's always great
fun.
talking to
See
you.
you, Cope.
Thanks, Ziggy.